The email came at 7:42 a.m., flagged urgent in red. Karoline Leavitt, already up and halfway through her second cup of black coffee, read it twice. Confirmed, you're live on CNN tonight at 8 p.m. with Jake Tapper. Segment, Youth Conservatism in America. Her eyes narrowed. She knew what this was. Not a fair conversation. A setup. A platform that acted like it wanted dialogue but sharpened every segment to draw blood. Still, she accepted. She always did. Because while others warned her, they'll edit you, Karoline, she had a rule. Say it clean. Say it once. Say it where they can't cut it. By 6 p.m., her team had gone radio silent. Texts from allies were coming in. Be careful tonight. Jake's been brutal lately. They've already decided how you'll look. She didn't care. She didn't show up to be liked. She showed up to be clear. Her makeup was simple. Her necklace, the same silver cross she'd worn since college. Her notes, minimal. Just one line in bold on the front of her legal pad. Let them ask. I'll answer for everyone who never gets the mic. At 7:30 p.m., she walked through CNN's glass doors in D.C., escorted by a quiet young assistant who didn't meet her eyes. A stagehand mic'd her up. The studio was cold. Tapper wasn't there yet. Behind the scenes, she heard murmurs. This one's fiery. Don't let her overrun the segment. Keep the delay ready. As she took her seat, a producer leaned in with a forced smile. We'll keep things respectful. Just stay on topic. Karoline simply said, What's the topic? Patriotism. And how your generation defines it. She smirked. Good. I brought receipts. What she didn't know. A CNN intern had already prepared the segment title that would roll at the bottom of the screen. The Rise of Radical Youth. How far will the right go? But Karoline wasn't here to play defense. She had other plans. The lights snapped on. The countdown hit 0. Jake Tapper entered the studio with the posture of someone used to control. A measured nod, sleeves rolled up, script pages in hand. Karoline didn't flinch. He offered a handshake. She returned it with the same stillness as a soldier before a storm. Karoline Leavitt joins us tonight, he began, eyes trained on the prompter. Former congressional candidate, rising conservative voice, and perhaps, controversially, the new face of patriotism. Karoline, welcome. She gave a brief nod. Thank you, Jake. The smile he offered in return was practiced, polished, and sharpened. Let's start here, he said, flipping to the first card. You've been accused of inflaming division, of promoting a kind of youthful extremism masked as patriotism. Do you see yourself that way? Karoline's response was immediate. No, Jake. But I see why someone would, if they're used to calling silence unity and obedience peace. Tapper raised an eyebrow. So your definition of patriotism includes confrontation? My definition of patriotism, she replied, her voice crisp, includes saying what others are too scared to say in rooms where power expects silence. The control room jolted to life. Producers whispered. Tapper leaned forward. But when young people storm the conversation, isn't it fair to ask where the line is? Who draws it? What facts they're using? Karoline didn't blink. You don't get to draw the line, Jake. The Constitution already did. A beat of silence. The control room dimmed her mic slightly, but she noticed. She looked at the camera, not at Jake, and adjusted her tone just enough to cut through. We're not guests in this conversation. We're the reason it exists. She had them now. She knew it. But in the next segment, Tapper changed tactics. The Chiron read, Exclusive. Leaked comments from Leavitt's closed-door speech. She turned slowly toward him. You're going to do this? Take something off record and spin it before I even get to breathe? He smiled. It's journalism, Karoline. You know how this works. She leaned in. Not toward him, but toward the nation watching. Then let me tell them exactly what I said. Not the edit, not the leak. The truth, Jake gestured for a commercial break, but Karoline didn't stop talking. The room lit up red. Live stayed on the screen. She didn't wait for permission. The leak they're talking about? Karoline said, voice unwavering. It was a private gathering of students and veterans. We were discussing the meaning of service. Not party, not profit, not platforms. Just sacrifice. Jake Tapper cut in. But you said, and I quote, "This country doesn't belong to people who hide behind press passes and podiums." She turned her gaze to him with surgical calm. I did, and I stand by it. Tapper smirked. So you're attacking journalism? No, Jake. I'm attacking cowardice. The studio stiffened. Technicians hovered near mute buttons. One producer mouthed, "Wrap her early." But Karoline wasn't here to be wrapped. "Let me be clear," she continued. "If someone hides the truth, edits the footage, or slices my words to make me a villain, they're not the press. They're part of the machine." Tapper leaned back, tone shifting from amused to agitated. "You're accusing a network like CNN of censorship?" Karoline raised one eyebrow. "I'm saying when platforms start cutting truth for convenience, they stop being platforms." The air turned dense. Even the cameras seemed quieter. She looked into the lens now, not as a guest, but as if she were addressing the American living room directly. "This generation doesn't trust headlines anymore. We don't trust edits. We trust what we can see uncut." That's when she said it. "So tonight, I brought my own camera." Tapper blinked. "Excuse me?" She pointed subtly to the small lapel camera clipped inside her jacket. Legal, unobtrusive, and recording everything from her seat. Full audio, full footage, yours and mine. Tapper's jaw tightened. "We don't allow third-party recordings on set. You don't have to allow truth," she said calmly. "It walks in whether you like it or not." The control room panicked. Someone signaled the tech crew. "Cut the feed." But they were too late. The live broadcast froze, mid-sentence. Back at home, viewers saw Jake Tapper's stunned face go still. Then, the screen cut to blue. Technical difficulties. What they didn't know was that Karoline had already hit upload. The entire exchange, start to finish, was being mirrored online. Uncut, unfiltered, undeniable. The truth had left the building, and the internet was just waking up. By the time CNN aired a carefully edited version of the segment later that evening, one where Karoline's boldest answers were clipped, her mic suspiciously dim, and Jake Tapper's interruptions polished with smooth transitions, the truth was already out. The uncut video, uploaded in full resolution to Karoline's verified X account and YouTube channel under the title, "Here's What Really Happened with Jake Tapper." No edits, no excuses. The view count exploded in real time. 50,000, 220,000, 1.3 million within 6 hours. The comment section turned into a wildfire. Why didn't CNN show this? This isn't controversial. It's courageous. I wasn't even a fan of her. Until now. Karoline didn't say a word publicly. Not yet. She let the clip speak for itself. In the back room of her modest campaign office, she sat quietly, watching the reactions roll in on her phone. Her team was stunned, not because of the numbers, but because of the tone. This wasn't just support. This was vindication. Meanwhile, CNN's top brass scrambled to contain the fallout. Their version of the segment, still titled Youth Patriotism or Radicalization, was instantly ratioed online. Even neutral viewers called it out. "This is not the same conversation. She destroyed you, and you tried to bury it." A staffer at the network anonymously leaked internal Slack messages. One line stood out. "We should have killed the segment altogether. Uploading their version just made us look guilty." Jake Tapper remained silent. But Karoline's clip was now circulating in political group chats, student forums, even veteran networks. And then it hit the trending tab on every platform. #LetKarolineSpeak. Late that night, she finally posted one line. "If truth bothers you, maybe you weren't listening. You were controlling." The next morning, Tapper's producer reached out. They wanted a second interview, this time off the record to clarify. Karoline replied instantly, "The last time I went off the record, you deleted me. Next time, I'll bring the nation with me." And with that, a shift occurred. This wasn't just about one segment anymore. This was about control, and who dared to challenge it. Karoline had gone viral before, but now she was something more. She was uncensorable. By 9 a.m. the next day, Karoline's campaign office looked more like a digital war room than a political HQ. The whiteboard had been scrubbed of fundraising goals and replaced with one bold phrase: "Who controls the mic, controls the narrative." Underneath it, arrows, names, dates, sound bites, and at the center, CNN. One of her aides, Maya, looked up from her laptop. "We've been flooded with requests, podcasts, college panels, even BBC and Sky News." Karoline didn't flinch. "No edits. If they won't go live, we don't go," another aide chimed in. "You're getting called the uncut candidate." By who? Everyone. The phrase stuck. While the mainstream media scrambled to control the fire, Karoline's team leaned in. They released a full, searchable transcript of the interview alongside the video. Every pause, every interruption, every clipped moment CNN tried to erase. The data told a story, and it wasn't on their side. Meanwhile, Jake Tapper's silence became a story in itself. His usual Monday commentary segment? Cancelled. His social feed? Quiet. His team? Unavailable for comment. Karoline's DMs, however, were overflowing. Not just from fans or allies, but journalists. Anonymous reporters at CNN, MSNBC, even the Washington Post began reaching out. One message stood out: "They've clipped all of us. You just finally caught it live." By that afternoon, something unexpected happened. A leaked internal video from CNN surfaced. A producer's voice could be heard moments before the segment aired. "If she pushes back, we go to commercial. If she quotes the Constitution, cut her feed." The public reaction? Nuclear. Constitutional lawyers, free speech activists, even political rivals spoke up. Not to defend Karoline's ideology, but her right to speak it without distortion. That night, she stood in front of a packed town hall. No teleprompter, no script, just her and the mic. "Last night wasn't about me. It was about a country tired of being interrupted mid-sentence." Cheers erupted. "They told me to stay in the box. I brought a sledgehammer." The room roared. Back at CNN, a senior anchor reportedly muttered off-air, "She's not just going viral, she's setting a precedent." And in every newsroom, a new question replaced the old ones. If Karoline's camera caught all this, what else are they hiding? Inside CNN headquarters, the air had turned sour. What was supposed to be a routine takedown of a conservative firebrand had detonated into a credibility crisis. A senior producer threw down his headset. "It was supposed to be a 4-minute segment. Now it's a constitutional debate." Interns were deleting tweets. Editors were reviewing footage. Lawyers were now part of every meeting. And Jake Tapper? He was under fire, not from Karoline, but from within. An email leaked to independent journalists showed internal blame. Jake went off script. He let her control the tempo. That lapel cam? It should have been flagged. The irony was bitter. CNN, the gatekeepers of political narrative, had been outplayed by a 20-something with a camera and conviction. Meanwhile, Karoline didn't gloat. She strategized. She met with First Amendment scholars and media historians, not for clout, but clarity. "What they did to me," she said, "they've done to dozens. I'm just the first who filmed it live." That quote alone made the front page of The Federalist. In her next live stream, unscripted again, Karoline laid out the full timeline of what happened that night. She showed viewers timestamps, frame-by-frame analysis, and the full cut of what CNN aired versus what she recorded. Then she dropped the hammer. CNN has violated the most basic principle of journalism: let the subject speak. That line trended globally. Activists on the left and right began sharing the uncut clip, some in defense, others in awe. It didn't matter. It was spreading. That night, Karoline received a private call from a name she never expected, a senior producer at 60 Minutes. "We think there's a bigger story here." She paused. "Is it live?" A chuckle. "You wouldn't do it any other way." Meanwhile, a CNN whistleblower finally spoke to the press. Tapper didn't just cut her. He demanded the control room lower her mic during key moments. It was confirmed. Karoline hadn't imagined it. The manipulation was real, and now she had it all. On tape, on record, in history. But she wasn't done. Not until every young voice that had ever been silenced got its mic back. By midweek, something odd happened. Jake Tapper, the face of CNN's sharpest political analysis, had gone completely silent. No live shows, no tweets, no statements. His name trended not because of what he said, but because he wasn't saying anything. Jake Tapper ghosted his own network, one user posted. Karoline Leavitt did what Congress couldn't, make Tapper mute, another wrote. At her next town hall, Karoline stepped onto the stage with a single page of paper in her hand. It was her closing statement from the original CNN interview, the one they never aired. Jake asked me if I had anything final to say that night, she told the crowd. They cut it, so I'll read it to you now. She unfolded the paper. This country is not owned by media studios, lobbyists, or blue check marks. It belongs to the kids who open history books and ask why they were lied to. The room was still. Then came the eruption. She finished. If my generation seems loud, it's because yours handed us a broken mic. The clip of her reading those lines racked up 8 million views overnight. Hashtag spread faster than CNN could issue corrections. Broken mic, let her speak, unedited patriot. Meanwhile, independent journalists began digging deeper. An old segment from 2021 resurfaced. Jake Tapper interviewing another young conservative, also edited heavily. The side-by-side comparison was damning. People started asking, was this CNN's pattern? Karoline didn't comment. She didn't have to. The internet was doing what institutions refused to do. Investigate. Inside CNN, tension exploded. Multiple anchors were forced to answer questions on air about editorial practices. PR firms were activated. Emails leaked again. One stood out. We thought we could bury her in the edit. She buried us with the original. In response, Karoline posted only one sentence. Truth doesn't need a filter, just the courage to say it anyway. And that night, she announced a nationwide tour. The mic is ours. Uncut America tour. First stop, Philadelphia, the birthplace of the First Amendment. The hall was packed. Independence Hall stood just blocks away, and the symbolism wasn't lost on anyone. Young people lined the walls, older veterans filled the front row, and phones were already live streaming before Karoline took the stage. There was no teleprompter, no flashy graphics, just a podium, a microphone, and Karoline Leavitt in a navy blue blazer, holding a worn copy of the Constitution. I'm not here tonight as a politician, she began. I'm here as someone who got interrupted and refused to stay quiet. Applause broke out. When CNN cut my mic, I didn't panic. I pressed upload. The room roared, but this wasn't just about revenge. She pivoted quickly. This isn't just my story. It's our story. Everyone in this room has been talked over, cut off, edited down. Whether it was a classroom, a town hall, or a social feed, they told us to shrink, and we said no. She read from the First Amendment. Then she paused and let the silence speak louder than any applause. They told us patriotism was performative, that we should whisper our convictions. I'm here to say, volume is not the enemy of virtue. The crowd stood to its feet. Outside the venue, cameras waited for protesters. A few showed up, mostly holding signs accusing Karoline of performing outrage. But something unusual happened. A local journalist approached them and asked if they'd seen the full unedited video. Most hadn't. That moment, caught on a live stream, flipped the entire narrative. Wait, one protester said, watching the clip on a phone. This wasn't on CNN. Even critics were beginning to question what they were fed. Meanwhile, the tour grew legs. Student groups from Berkeley, Michigan and Georgetown requested stops. Independent outlets offered to cover each speech, with 0 edits. Jake Tapper? Still silent. But CNN finally issued a statement. Half apology, half denial, it read, "We strive to uphold journalistic standards. Technical issues occasionally interfere with live segments. We remain committed to fairness." Karoline quote-tweeted it with one line, "Fairness doesn't glitch. It censors." Her response got more views than the original CNN post. The tour was now a movement. And Karoline? She was no longer just a guest on someone else's platform. She had become the platform. By the second stop on her tour, Karoline didn't need a press team to generate headlines. She was the headline. Fox News tried to spin it as a conservative uprising. MSNBC called it manufactured youth populism. but neither could control what was happening. Because Karoline had one thing they didn't: the full, unedited truth, and millions of people watching it. TikTok, X, YouTube Shorts, all filled with side-by-sides of Karoline's original CNN appearance and what actually aired. Young editors made reels that synced Jake Tapper's interruptions with dramatic piano music. One viral post read, "This is why we don't trust you anymore." CNN tried to move on. Jake returned to air, but the damage was done. Every segment he hosted, no matter the topic, was flooded with, "Why did you cut Karoline?" The narrative had outgrown the story. Karoline, meanwhile, stayed focused. At a university in Chicago, she stood beneath a statue of Abraham Lincoln and held up a handwritten sign that simply read, "Let the mic run." She gave a 14-minute speech, filmed on 5 phones and streamed on her account. No mics, no backup, just her voice in raw form. "They told me I wasn't ready for national television, but maybe national television wasn't ready for me." Even comedians began to joke about CNN's edit job. SNL ran a parody sketch, Tapper hitting a giant mute button while Karoline lip-syncs the Constitution. It was satire. But the truth behind it made the audience uneasy, because everyone knew now. CNN didn't just clip a controversial guest. They tried to erase a moment, and failed. And Karoline didn't turn bitter. She turned strategic. She launched a campaign called #OpenMic, encouraging students, service members, and even disillusioned journalists to post their own cut stories, stories where their truth was silenced, edited, or twisted. Within 48 hours, the hashtag had over 17 million impressions. Some shared classroom moments. Others posted backstage clips from speeches. One nurse uploaded hospital footage where her warnings were ignored. The mic was no longer just a tool, it was a symbol, and Karoline had made it sacred again. The final stop of Karoline's tour wasn't in a studio on a college campus or even in front of a crowd. It was on the steps of the Library of Congress. No stage, no banner, just a folding chair, a portable mic, and a single sentence taped to her table. "If they can silence me, they can silence you." The press showed up anyway. Dozens of reporters, mainstream, indie, and freelance, hovered nearby, unsure whether to cover or critique. Their cameras rolled, but for once, they didn't interrupt. Karoline stood in front of them and held up the Constitution. "This document doesn't guarantee you'll be liked. It guarantees you'll be heard." A hush settled over the plaza. "They tried to make my voice a controversy. But your voice? Your voice is power. It's memory. It's freedom." She paused. "When they cut my mic, they didn't just try to shut me down. They tried to shut you down." She looked directly into the cameras. "But the problem is, we recorded it." That line was clipped and shared by millions in real time. But then she said something no one expected. "This is not about Jake Tapper or CNN or even me. It's about the moment we all realized the mic belongs to us now." Applause echoed from students, veterans, and even a few reporters who lowered their cameras and started clapping. Then she held up a small device, the same lapel cam from the CNN interview. "I'm donating this to the Library of Congress." People were stunned. Not as evidence, as a symbol, a reminder that one person with a voice, a camera, and a conscience can remind an entire country that free speech is still alive. The clip was posted instantly. That night, cable news had no choice but to cover it. Even Jake Tapper finally commented, "She changed the rules." Karoline responded with just 3 words: "We remembered ours." That became a movement's motto. She didn't just take back her words, she took back the mic and gave it to everyone. Sometimes a single interview isn't just an interview. Sometimes a muted sentence speaks louder than a whole broadcast. Karoline's story reminded us that those who hold the mic don't always hold the truth, and when the truth is recorded, it can't be deleted. Though this story is fictional, the message is real. Who gets to speak shouldn't be decided by a select few behind the cameras. We all hold the mic now, and this time we're not letting go. If you felt the power of this story, hit that subscribe button and tell us what you would have said. Uncut and unfiltered.